My name is Balaji Rangarathnam. I am a speech pathologist and an associate professor at Midwestern University in Illinois. I graduated with my bachelor's from AIISH in 2006 in speech and hearing, and my master's in speech language pathology in 2008 from AIISH again. And I graduated with my PhD in 2013 here in the United States from the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. AIISH is an extraordinary university. As we all know, it's one of the most leading institutions for speech pathology in India. It is the center of eminence and whatnot. Like I said earlier, I graduated from AIISH a very, very long time ago, and I'm sure things have changed quite a bit since then. But AIISH offers a very, very rewarding educational experience. So it was a very small cohort, if you will. So we had everybody knew each other. The faculty knew the students knew the faculty at a more personal level. So we literally spent like those 6 years and 24 hours a day in the campus. So we pretty much grew most of our formative years in campus at AIISH. AIISH was extraordinary, be it educational experience, be it an emotional growth in both senses. Most of what we carry forward in life today is what we gain from AIISH. Especially when I compare to the kind of education that we have in the United States, AIISH was extremely rigorous and intense. Rigorous with the amount of course load, but in a very, very educationally and rewarding way. So we had 4 hours of clinic right from our first year of our bachelor's. So 4 years of undergraduation, each day with 4 hours of clinic, plus your master's program with 4 hours of clinic every day. So we accumulated over 1,500 clinical hours. So that itself is an extraordinary growth right at when you are learning. You are not even graduated, you've not even started seeing patients. At least in the United States, there are a lot of times where practicing clinicians get that many hours after they graduate, but you're already very well prepared and equipped right even before the start. So you have a better head start when you start the program. I think in today's times, we are in 2021. I think it's more relevant today than it was maybe in the early 2000s. That diversity is very, very important. And it's not just about representation of people from different parts of the country. It is more to do with diversity in thought. You need to have people who have different thought processes, people who think differently, people who bring different ideas. It could be based on any kind of diverse values, not just culturally, but ethnologically, politically. There are so many things that you learn from people who are not belonging to the same ecosystem as yours. And most importantly, the languages. Today, I'm able to speak at least 4 or 5 languages only because I had friends who spoke all these languages. So AIISH is, without consciously doing that, it still does that to you, where you grow emotionally, psychologically, and of course, educationally. The faculty are extraordinarily well trained. They're all some of the pioneers in the field. Everybody is very, very well learned. Everybody has a line of agenda for their research. Everybody knows what they're doing. And it's not just research that they're doing. They also have a wealth of clinical practice. They have a wealth of administrative experience. So everything put together makes the faculty some of the most distinct faculty in the entire country. And for me personally, the faculty members were amazing role models. They just live by example. So they things like empathy and things like critical thinking, those are not things that you can teach someone. You just have to model it to someone just by living it through. And the faculty members at AIISH were amazing at that. So it's more of an implicit learning than just telling you, hey, you need to be kinder, you need to be compassionate, you need to be competent. That's not the way the faculty members that AIISH trained us. They lived based on, it was just based on observations and implicit learning that we learned. So I strongly believe that the place where you are influences what you will be potentially by a lot. I strongly believe that AIISH has the state-of-the-art infrastructure when it comes to equipment and what. But when I'm talking about infrastructure, it's not just the equipment I'm talking about. It's access to a lot of software. It's the buildings are amazing. You have an amazing educational experience when you are in the campus. I do agree that after you graduate graduate, you're probably not going to go to a place where you have access to all of this infrastructure. But at least when you're starting out, when you're learning about something, when you're learning about a disorder, when you're learning about how to assess the disorder, learning about how to treat the disorder, I think it's very, very important for you to do it the correct way. And you can do it only when you have access to equipment that measures the physiology most accurately. AIISH has access to pretty much the state-of-the-art technology. It could be research-wise, it could be clinician, your test materials and your clinical access, equipment-wise, and all of that. And also the opportunities to go somewhere else. If you need to go fly to a conference, go to another country and present, AIISH has all those infrastructure in place. So it's just a wealth of experience. Over 70 years of being in the field has made AIISH the most sought after institution in the entire country for speech pathology and audiology. And of course, right now, other professions also like special education and things like that. So I think you figure it out and you grow through the process. But the opportunities are extraordinary. There's just so many different things to do in today's scope of practice for a speech pathologist. So I don't see very many patients these days. I've branched out to completely in academia. I just do research and teaching. My areas of expertise are in the areas of voice disorders and swallowing disorders, the pharyngeal and laryngeal physiology. I look specifically, I'm interested in treatment. So to put it short, my work looks at therapy effects for disorders of voice and disorders of swallowing. Swallowing mostly with respect to neurogenic lesions, people with stroke or say with Parkinson's disease, anything to do with the brain, and they've lost the ability to, their muscles in their neck and throat are weaker, because of which their swallowing is not safe or efficient. So we do treatment methods for them, giving them some exercises to make sure that they develop that ability for a safer and an efficient swallowing. So that's broadly my research. I teach similar courses. The program that I am in right now, we only offer a master's degree. So I teach master students, and I'm also involved in research mentorship for PhD students and master's thesis students and things like that. So speech pathology is I believe is a very noble field where you directly change lives of patients. When it comes to speaking, I think it's okay, where our impact is definitely important, especially for kids who are learning to speak and who are developmentally perhaps having a delayed speech, or perhaps having a deviation or an impairment in their speech. I think that has a lot of impact on the psychology of the patients, the children themselves, as well as the parents. So I believe what we do directly impacts a lot of lives. Professionally, it has changed a lot about me personally. When I started out, I had no idea about what I was doing when I was a student. Obviously, I was young, and as you grow, you understand the sort of impact you have on patients, how it changes their quality of life. There are so many patients with eating is such a simple thing that we don't even think about, but you cannot peacefully go to a restaurant and have a meal with a family, or you could just not, buy a chocolate with your grandson and eat it, share it with them, things like that. Those are very, very simple things to have a good quality of life. And I believe the kind of work that we do impacts all of that, and it grows you. I have grown so much tremendously just observing these patients and looking at how impactful what we do can be for these patients. So I think you figure it out and you grow through the process, but the opportunities are extraordinary. There's just so many different things to do in today's scope of practice for a speech pathologist. Since we have grown tremendously in the last 50 years, just like from a speech pathology point of view, and the things are just looking good in the future for speech pathologists in India. But for research wise, for PhD, if you're interested in a doctoral program, the opportunities are extraordinary. We all over the world, we have a very sore need for PhD level researchers in speech pathology. We don't have very many, and there are so many faculty positions that go unfilled for a long time. So yeah, you do have opportunities. You just have to look for it, and you have to be a lot more proactive and vigilant while looking for these opportunities. Yeah. The reasons that I would suggest for students to join AIISH is one, opportunities to access access patients, opportunities to access faculty members, opportunities to develop your personality by working with people from different walks of life, be it in your classroom, access to infrastructure, access to so many different things that would help you to grow. Patients come from all over the country to come to AIISH. So you get to learn so many different disorders that you probably will never see anywhere else. These are things that I have carried forward all through my life. Most of the people I know in my life are people that I got to know from AIISH. So it's going to change a lot of your your personality and parts of your life, and I think it's important for you to enjoy and at the same time learn and build a career forward. So these are very trying times because of the COVID pandemic. The entire world is affected, and India particularly right now is very affected because of the second wave of the infections. I think it's very important for us to take care of ourselves as well as people around us. Since people are working from home mostly, there's a lot of online education. There's a lot of what we call as phonotrauma, where you're traumatizing your vocal folds and your speaking abilities. It's very important for you to conserve your voice and follow what we call as vocal hygiene. Make sure that you drink a lot of water, reduce the amount of coffee that you probably would have, be stress-free, sleep quite a bit, get a good 8 hours of sleep, don't work beyond a specific time. But personally, it's important for you to take care of your personality, your stress, your health, and all of that is very important. If possible, use a microphone if you're not able to reach out or project your voice to a lot of people. Anything that you believe is affecting your voice, try not to do it, and try to have a conscious check on your own speech and voice.